Hey guys, I'm excited to share with you this lesson. We cover so much, it's jam-packed with a lot of information. We touch on pitch shots, to iron shots, to driving. I don't even know what to title this video, so hopefully you guys enjoy it and learn something. I will leave some checkpoints down below in case you want to skip around to some pieces that you think are relevant to you. But I must say that the lesson does build on itself, and some things that we talk about with the wedge shots translate to the iron shots, and then also to how to move with the driver. So for a complete picture, I definitely recommend watching the lesson from start to finish, and it will also give you a realistic expectation of what a golf lesson is like. And guys, if you're new here, my name is Chonger. I'm an average golfer with the goal of trying to get to scratch. Follow along on this journey with me as I document my weekly lessons and I talk about different gear and gadgets that help me improve. And let me know what you think about this new camera setup. I left one behind me, but I also focused a camera onto the screen so that way you can see TrackMan data, which I thought is useful because all this different data, you learn a lot about your golf swing and the shots that you're making. So I thought it was useful metrics to include. And then when Tim does talk about things, we can translate that to the numbers on the screen. So yeah, let me know what you think about that. But that being said, let's dive into the lesson.
Okay, it's been a while.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been what, like 2.5 months? I went to the range a few times since I've played, and I played one round, which actually didn't go so good.
Okay.
But the score-wise, actually. But I think I broke it down to a few key areas which I do need to work on. Okay. So I don't think it's like, oh, my game's like horrible.
I lost my game.
Because from that, my iron contact was great. Even if I was hitting it a little thin, it was still like straight. Okay. My tee shots were pretty good. Good. My 2-iron was finding the fairway. Great. The things that it came down to was, I think, a little mental game. Yeah. And like some maybe club selection. And then also putting, which I haven't really done since I couldn't get a feel for the greens. Yeah. But yeah, one of the things for the mental game, for instance, was just my wedge shots. Yeah. Going into the like 120 yards and in. Okay. Because in my lessons before, I'd always hit them left a little. Yep. And I think maybe subconsciously I didn't want to do that, so they're all going right when I was playing. Gotcha. But I went to the range afterwards and they're straight. So I think it could have just been an off.
Okay, could have been, but let's take a look at it and just sort of rule out any is aiming directly at TrackMan, that black pole out there.
Okay, and how far? That's like 70 yards, right?
That is like 80 from where we're standing, about almost 88 yards.
88. Okay.
Yeah.
I try and hit an 88.
Is that a little bit of what was?
Yeah, I'd kind of leak off to the right a little. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sometimes even I kind of even almost push it right a little, I think, maybe.
Do you think it's more club face, or do you think you have path involved there?
I think with this one, potentially maybe my club face would just be a tiny bit open.
I think it's mostly club face.
I think it's almost like I'm scared to close it because since I was scared of the left.
Sure.
But I can try and... that's like kind of what I'm seeing.
I see. So if you look at kind of delivery numbers, the first two, the club's coming in a little bit outside, like 0.5. It's delivering on line, and then the face is just wide open. So the face is like 5 degrees open on that one. Yeah. On average, your face is 3.5 degrees open on the first 3 swings. So it's all club face.
So to close the club face, I'm just kind of, am I thinking about it more?
Maybe rather than trying to close it, maybe in the backswing, don't open it.
Okay, keep it
so let's just keep a little bit more rotation, keep a little bit of width so that there isn't as much opportunity for it to kind of get off track.
Width or more height?
Width.
So like around?
More like space from torso.
Okay.
So like less moving pieces, less hinge in the elbows. Okay. Let's see here. I'll catch one this way too. Yeah, face just a little bit open.
That one left.
That one went left, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so club's coming through okay. It's not coming in super steep on all of these. It looks like you're just kind of spinning a lot. Let me get you over here for a sec. But it's just, I think it's width at a stance. So you're spinning a lot out of here and then really kind of coming through late and having to kind of lift as you go up. And that lift is making you kind of push it away from you. So we're not getting that little squeeze into the downswing to kind of get the compression that you want. So feeling like you can get this thing to really kind of hit down on the golf ball a little bit more. So width at a stance is going to give us a little bit more torque.
Yeah.
It looks like you're kind of just sliding as you go back. Everything kind of stops because there's not a lot of weight pushing out of that back foot. And then the club's kind of lifting up into the follow through. So a wide base, try to keep some width out of the knees.
Yeah.
And feel like you can kind of create a little bit more twist in this. So with like wedge shots, we don't need a lot of hinge. We don't need a fold and an unfold nearly as much. What we really need is to just regulate this kind of turn.
So even with wedge shots, I can still kind of have a normal stance.
That's right. And then
because before people always talk about, kind of less.
Yeah,
but
for some,
yeah.
Right? But if we're looking at you really like, there's a moment in there when you hit the golf ball where there's almost no weight on your right foot.
Yeah.
So you're just on your left foot and you can't really finish then, you can't spin.
Yeah.
For you, just looking at the width of your shoulders, when you stand in the mirror, you've got a broad set of shoulders. We want your feet probably wider all the way through if we're gonna use more torque. It's easier to twist and torque from a wider base.
Yeah.
It's easier to slide, especially tall, lean players. It's easier to just slide out of your platform with your knees and your hips if you've got kind of like a narrow arrangement. So for you, this is really, really good to kind of get you feeling like you can kind of sit into the ground and then grip it on your turn. Use the ground to kind of hit the shot a little bit more, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like bing.
Pretty close to 88.
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. So I want you to feel like that twist happens in the backswing, and there isn't as much twist in the follow through. There's like a twist and then a load into the left side. So you're really gripping the ground kind of in the backswing and then feeling like you're really twisting into that right side. Because I'd like to see you swing a bit more right on all these shots. Okay. Your tendency is to kind of get the club outside and on top of the line late in the swing, in swing direction, and then now have to stand up to get it back under. I'd say most good wedge players will swing a little bit underneath that line.
It's like this more?
Yeah, well, more like when you get to the top of the swing, rather than thinking about swinging over there, just not spinning as much in the downswing. So I want you to like spin to get yourself some width, and then really slide into this almost like you're hitting up against a wall.
Okay.
You kind of want to drive your shot in direction to the left a bit more, or to the right, I should say. Yeah, and then just get a little bit better pinch on the ball. That's nice. That's really nice. It's going to be easier for you to flight a wedge that way. Feel like you can be aggressive hitting down on it and kind of trap it a bit more. Get a good squeeze into the back of it. Yeah. So let's see if we can get you, that was almost no attack angle. You can almost hear it.
Yeah.
I want you to get up to like 4 or 5 degrees down on this thing from that arrangement. So I torque and twist. I slide into that left side. I really press down into that left side to get there. And then I want you to try to hit from a little bit more on the inside corner of that ball. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see there. So 2 degrees down, I want you to try to double it. Okay. Ball position can help you with that for sure. So further back will help you get a little bit more down, a little bit more from the inside.
It's too fast.
But we got to 4 degrees down on it. So we want that pinch on the golf ball. Obviously, we just don't want it. Okay. Nice. Nice. Really nice. 3 down, finding the center a little bit better. That's a nicer looking pattern for you. Like push, draw pattern versus any fade that might happen out of there.
I think before, because we were focusing more on, I think a little more fade pattern.
Yeah,
I think.
with the longer stuff. Yeah. Or trying to get rid of the big swing direction that you had previously, for sure.
Because before I was too much inside.
Yes.
And I think we were.
Yeah. Yeah. We just lost that squeeze on the ball. Yeah, only 1 degree down there. So we want to hear that nice little low point kind of ahead of the golf ball. There you're about 0.9 inches ahead of the ball as you hit it. We just want to move that thing
So I
for
almost
the
want
pass.
to feel like my weight shifting and then I'm almost like
That's right.
still extending.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
getting
Yeah. Yep.
that pull, right?
Feeling like you get that little pinch on the back of the golf ball. So you can kind of shorten up the backswing and feel like you use your legs a little bit more to hit this thing, right? Rather than kind of like letting the arms be the thing in charge. Yeah.
Because if I have a shorter backswing too, I can be more aggressive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if I keep them too far up, I'm almost kind of just like.
Yeah, it just the first few swings looked like the arms and the club were kind of leading the swing and the body was kind of following lead.
Yep.
We want the opposite to happen. I want you to feel like you're hitting wedge shots because of your feet. That if I go from here and I just want to move my hands behind me, I can do that by just twisting my feet in the ground and I've almost got like the majority of my backswing done without having to do too much lifting. The early ones look like there's a lot of hand action. Then the hands are kind of in charge and the body's kind of coming a little bit late. It looked a little disconnected in that way. I want to see you be able to kind of go, think like Bryson DeChambeau. Like think about how he just sort of like, everything's locked in place and there's so much more out of his legs. He's a very good wedge player too.
Yeah.
But if you can kind of copy a little bit of that structure of how he's going to move things around versus trying to just be kind of good with the hands, you just sort of lost that connection. And on wedge play, you want to feel like it's long chip shots, closer to a putting motion where I'm regulating everything, not a driver swing where I'm really kind of just letting it go. Might make sense, right?
With the longer wedge shots,
Yeah.
'cause I know with the short chips or anything kind of with under 50 yards, we kind of want to reduce that smash factor
Yeah.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But with longer wedge shots, we still want some compression. We still want
Yeah.
some.
Yes.
Okay.
If you hit this is your 54. If you hit this thing at full capacity,
Yep.
it's not not unless something weird happens, it's not gonna rebound much more than like 1.25 to 1.3.
Yep.
That's because of the density of the face, the material that they use. That's on purpose. So you're not going to be able to get a 1.5 smash factor off of a wedge, but we want something, right? You want some acceleration if we're hitting this 120, if that's the plan. I think this wedge for you at your speed is going to be kind of 105 sort of yards. Is that about right? 105,
Yeah, but I think if we're
110?
in full swing this, I think, yeah, I'm at 105.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Ding. Right. A little on the toe, but good looking move there. And everything else matches up really nice.
Yeah, I
Contact's
was
good.
trying to have a more compact
Yeah.
swing.
So let's get those where you've got your hands. I'm just going to come in here for a second. Where the toe of the club's a little bit up off of the ground and your hands are a little bit low. Let's eliminate some of that angle where you could get a little closer, not necessarily closer, but taller for sure. Right? Okay. And we feel like that face at address is, so if I do 90 degrees there, that's 90. So that should be square right now.
Yep.
And if we push our hands forward at address to create a little bit of shaft lean, the face should point a little bit right. This will give you room to release it.
Okay.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, it shouldn't look like that when you're set up to the golf ball, because really what's gonna happen is that ball's gonna be left as you release your hands. It should look like at address, square, 90 degrees. Then when you push it into position, the face should look a little right. Then you can really be kind of aggressive with that hit.
A little open, and I know that
Right.
way I can.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So there is some release there that can kind of happen. So that face isn't too closed when you get into that position. Nice. Yeah, really good.
Better attacking too.
Yeah, for sure. Looks good. Looks like a much simpler, much more organized move. Just a little open with that, a little late on that hit. Not terrible.
When I'm thinking about releasing the club, am I thinking about it kind of like I'm almost like my hands are overtaking it, but I also don't want to get too handsy, right?
Yeah. No, you're thinking more like from these types of shots,
Yep.
you're thinking more like turn to release.
Okay.
Right? So you're really thinking that you're just trying to, yeah, exactly.
So I need a quicker turn then,
Yes.
and then I will shut the face.
For sure.
Okay.
Right? You don't want to have to like trust your hands to do the closing and opening. That just loses that attack angle.
Yep.
So it's like more grip in the feet. Nice. Right? A little sharper hit. Just give yourself a bit more time in the backswing and then kind of set it up a bit more vertical. Remember, the more vertical you take it away early in the swing, the more potential it is to shallow it. If you take it away a little bit shallow or flat, you're probably going to push your hands up over top. Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. It's a great shot there. Do it again. Ding. Yeah. Okay, nice wide base. Feel like you're really twisting the ground with your feet to take this away. Just really wind it up with that turn. Yeah, there we go. A little better sound.
Just still have to turn a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, still trying to attack it from the inside as much as you can. So this just gives you the avenue, right? When I do this, that just gives me the avenue to go there a little bit more.
Yep.
So we don't want to feel like it twists back out. It's a twist, and then really feeling like we can kind of press into that left side. Mm-hmm.
When I'm pressing,
Yeah.
Am I thinking I'm pressing this way or?
Yep. Yes. Yeah, exactly. We're kind of pressing in the direction to kind of get to the inside of the golf ball.
Yep.
As a reaction then, if I press more onto kind of like that 45-degree angle
Yep.
there, it'll help me create extension so I can get that lead leg up in the follow through.
Because I want to clear my leg.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the only way I'm going to clear that thing is if I'm pressing that way more to go this way. If I press this way, I'm just going to spin the corner.
How do I, because before I think when we're looking about things, we don't
Yeah.
want to press too far and have like the weight going, I guess,
Yeah.
what's the limit, I guess, or I guess don't want to do it, overdo it.
Yeah, so
that I
if,
get stuck.
if you're moving too much of your kind of hip, your majority of where your weight is center of mass. If I'm moving that too much ahead of the golf ball, then I'm going to create reactions to kind of create space. So it really feels like pressure. So I can push down into the left side, I can push into the right side, and I'm not really moving the structure of my setup too much, especially on a wedge. I'm probably a little bit heavier to start on the left side. I've probably got a little bit of the ball kind of behind my center of mass already or pretty close to it. So I don't need to do much. I just need to kind of get that feeling that I can kind of push myself up into the follow through. I'm going to do more of that stuff when you get to like longer swings for sure. Right? Good. Yeah, nice. So we can really kind of hammer in that golf ball at like just a little to the inside. Mm-hmm. Great. A little low in the face, but I like that attack angle, kind of squeezing the golf ball, and pretty good number matchup. Do you struggle more with less than full shots then? Like with these wedges, would you, if I said, okay, hit a 60-yard shot, it might not be with this club, but 60, 70, 80, or 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, or 30, whatever, in that range. Is this easier for you on these short ones to just sort of like let it happen? Or do you struggle with that?
I think with the 50-yard shots,
Yeah.
I still kind of miss a bit dispersion-wise.
Sure.
I think the distance-wise, I'm better at nailing that down.
Yeah.
But I think, it's not like as tight as I would like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, it could be a variety of things, whether it be face angle, like how I'm interacting with the ball.
Yep. Yeah.
But I would say, obviously, I feel more confident with like a fuller swing, just
Yeah.
because I know I can like fully commit almost. Because
Yeah.
I feel like if I know that I have to swing a bit easier, then
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes like I could get a bit loose, or I could like kind of
Yeah.
be a bit out of sync, just because I'm trying to time something up, or I'm trying to slow down, just so that way I can in
Yeah.
my head reach.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. For those ones, like your in between shots, if your full swing is, you know, the max on the clock for you, where it's like hands will kind of go to kind of like 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. That's
Yep.
like your full wedge swing, maybe. Then it's just kind of bringing it down by the hour to kind of get you into that space, but then really making sure that it's symmetrical on both sides,
Yep.
both in like face on the clock and also in position from like my hands are there and they're symmetrical to getting kind of in the same space over there where they don't get pushed out away from you, where they flip and turn over, where you really feel like they're really working up and down the clock in like the correct fashion.
So let me just try and hit like a 50-yard shot.
Sure,
then.
okay.
So I think that would be like 9 o'clock, I think.
Yeah, let's see.
So I still want to feel like I'm
Yeah.
committing to it, or is this one of the ones where I still want the smash factor down, kind of just want it?
It'll come down a
soft?
little bit as we remove speed.
Yep.
You can definitely, we still want to hit down, you know, get the golf ball pinched. But I think if we start to kind of just stay with the same message that we're using a little bit more of the ground to kind of maneuver the club rather than the hands, there'll be less accelerators kind of in there. So this is like less wrist hinge. That's a great shot. I think it's going to go closer to like 65 yards.
Yeah.
Right? 63 carry, 73 total. So with that though, let's just remove a little bit of speed. I think you're okay. Face is a bit closed, so it definitely accelerated the ball a bit more.
There's quite a few men that
Probably like a 65 again too. Or
60-ish, yeah, 56. 56. Face to path is 2.5 degrees closed on this one. It was 3 degrees closed in the last one, so there's a little bit of your acceleration in there. It might just be for this 50-yard shot that you'd more likely go to more loft.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is just accelerating the golf ball a little bit more, and I wouldn't want you to have to be like, okay, let's just add a bunch of loft at the moment of impact. You could, by arrangement, open the face at address, right?
Yeah.
You could point the face more to the right so that it took off some ball speed. But then I think what we're doing is manipulating a little bit too much of that setup for, say, this like 50-yard shot. I think we're swinging a little underneath. So attack angle went down, or didn't go down on the golf ball. It was a little bit more up. I don't think that I picked it up totally. But we want to have that like crisp sound to this thing.
like that's because like subconscious. Well, I mean that one went
Yeah.
50 yards carry, but I mean
Yeah.
that wasn't direction or
Right.
dispersion
Yeah.
wise left right where I would want.
That's
it
right.
To be.
So we still want to hit that start line. Good. So you're limiting wrist hinge. You're limiting right arm bend. Yeah. And then try to just get a bit more vertical with it in the backswing so that you're not pushing it out and away from you, because these are getting a little inside, and then now you're kind of swinging a little bit over the top. So this is where it feels like it's going to go, yeah, much more up and down, almost like straight to the ceiling sort of thing.
go one more with this, and then we're going to switch to another shot before going back to that first one.
That definitely had a lot more inside out on it, but we lost that attack angle. That was almost up at it. That was up at it, 1.2 up. So we want to go down on this one a little bit. I think honestly, it's probably just the wrong club
Yeah.
for the 50-yard shot.
So
Let's try that.
60.
Yeah, let's try the 60. Okay, 60?
Yeah.
Okay.
This I can feel like I'm probably more aggressive.
And that's what you want, is to feel like we're not having to like give up too much off of the other one. Just want to clean up that strike a little bit. Make sure that it's like really sharp on the ball. 1-4.
Without even looking
So when you take this away slowly to kind of like from P1 to P2, we're going to do something a little bit different. So your thumbs, we want them to really kind of stay out and away from you here.
Okay.
As you come back into it, you don't want to feel like they ever get kind of trapped behind you.
Yeah.
So when you feel like you really get like vertical thumbs pointing away from you in the takeaway. So they go a lot.
No wrist hinge though? Or?
That's right. Right, so it kind of goes like this, and then now I can turn to kind of represent that club on the golf ball. Yeah. Yeah, and then straight down on the back of this thing. Good, I just want to watch from behind and see. Yeah, 6 down. Mm-hmm. It's pretty good there.
Would you say option?
Just a little easier for you to control the distance with, say, that 60 degree.
Yeah.
We have about 30 minutes left.
Yeah.
Is there something else that you want to work on in your game? You said those wedges that we kind of tackled a little bit of that footwork in there. Do you want to go up into like short irons as well?
Yeah, if you want to look at my iron swing.
Yeah, let's look at that. Just so we can kind of connect the dots here, because maybe that's the same thing that's happening there. Driver and 2 iron and that stuff off the tee, you said you were great?
I mean...
Proficient.
It was proficient in the sense of like I was in play.
Yeah.
I mean, aesthetically, maybe my swing's not the best.
But, okay.
I think that's one thing though. We focus, I think, like maybe like 80% of our lessons so far on iron. So I do feel more comfortable hitting irons, but driver, if I get lost in like a driver, it's hard for me to kind of diagnose it. Whereas like with an iron,
you can kind of
like shanking it, for instance, like I know like a bit more kind of what to do.
Yeah.
I just need to obviously focus on feeling like, I think my main problem is if I don't give myself enough space.
Yes.
So usually that solves like 99% of the problem with my iron.
Good.
The driver though, if I'm mishitting it, I don't necessarily.
Don't have have solutions as easy or as readily available. Yeah, okay.
Oh, you need to change the...
Yep. Okay. Let's go to, what did you grab here?
This is an 8.
Okay. So similar sort of thing, getting a little on top of your line with the face a little bit open. Is it terrible? Not at all. It's not even remotely terrible, but just a little bit of that, like club's a little outside just before you get to the golf ball and then having to kind of stand up. So this could cause some problems where you don't feel like you've got room and you kind of have to make it really late in the swing.
So I just want to feel more
vertical early.
And then...
So that idea of like, we take the thumbs up and then feeling really like that press in so that you can access that spot on the golf ball a little bit more from the inside. Yeah, for sure. It's a much better strike there. Yeah, that gets you a little bit more inside. You're still hitting down on it a little bit, 2-2. I know it was a touch on the toe, but then your face to path is kind of like 0.5. So then you've got really the club and your face kind of working together for where you're going. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's just see those hands a little bit more vertical and early. Yeah. Right. I mean, super nice strike on the ball. Obviously a little bit closed at the moment of impact, but...
Face closed, right?
Yeah, face closed, yeah.
So that's one thing actually that I've noticed is a lot of times I'm very consistent with a little fade kind of out to the right, which I can manage that, but then sometimes if I'm a little too quick or something, I'll get that left shot. So if I'm playing in a game, sometimes I'm almost favoring the right just because I know
that it might show up. That's fair, yeah.
But obviously, ideally, I want to kind of get more efficient so I don't have to. But
Yeah. Take your setup again. I'll show you where it is, where I think it is for you. So when you're ready to go there, okay, lift the club up to my hands right here. Just lift the club head straight up this way. Yeah, like that. Now if I go like this, that's where your hands are gonna wanna release. That's a closed face.
Yep.
So this is like when you let the club go and really release it and kind of hit into the golf ball where you've really kind of fully sent that club through, that's where it is. If I go like this for a second and put it like that, and then now when you take your address position and push your hands forward, what you'd want to see is more of that face kind of pointing a little bit to the right. So that when you do release this thing, it's not so dramatic that face to be closed.
Okay.
You can hold a little bit of angle where you can compress the golf ball, and that thing actually kind of points a little bit more down the line at that moment. You just don't want to see where it's like it was so closed, even at address.
Okay.
So that face should kind of be looking a little bit to the right.
So almost like the ones that are off to the right, because I don't really do anything, but
Yeah.
to get the most compression you want to obviously release it. But if I do end up releasing it, it goes a bit left.
For sure.
So that's why I don't want to end up doing that.
Right, so then you kind of will hold it off too much with a kind of a closed-faced arrangement.
Okay.
And then you're not really letting that energy kind of into the golf ball.
Okay.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And then you just got a little underneath there.
Underneath as in like inside?
Yes. Yeah, just a little bit too inside. A way to work on one other thing too, I've noticed. Your breath work.
Oh yeah?
You do hold your breath through the entire shot and then let out like a gasp at the end of this thing as the air comes out of you. So I want you on a couple of these shots just to like talk your way through the shot.
Okay.
Like just keep talking. Because what happens is when you brace, that's tension.
Yeah.
And then that tension is not freedom to kind of move and turn.
Yeah.
Do this experiment with the players that this happens to is I'll ask them to hold their breath and jump as high as they can.
Yeah.
And you like almost can't leave the ground.
Yeah.
So that bracing action is probably not good for you in where we want to have some freedom to release the club.
Okay.
So on the next one, whatever you want to say as you go through, if you just say like, pick a golfer's name. If we say Tiger Woods, I want you to just quietly say Tiger Woods through the hit here.
Okay.
See if we can get it out without it blurting out at the end of this thing. Right, yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I could feel like the
Yeah.
shortness of breath.
I know. So you're gathering it before and then storing it through the hit and then you're letting it out after. Not that I want to mess you up to be like, if you want to mess up someone playing golf with them, ask them if they breathe in or out in their backswing. But for you, you should be able to, and not that you're going to talk through your swing, but you should be able to just naturally breathe, and it's going to help you relax and move with some fluidity without
So technically, I
bracing.
should be able to have a conversation and still hit a club, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So if we're still talking
if I'm
and you're still
talking, then I should be able to.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm myself pause.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. It's important work because once we sort of lock the diaphragm and brace, it is tension.
Yeah.
Breathing is tension. So it's something that I was noticing on the wedges a little bit coming out, but as we hit these harder shots, there was really some more air coming out at the end of it.
So I almost want to feel like the breath coming around before the release, like
Sure.
around like
Yeah. Or you don't really
don't even hold my breath in.
So where you don't have to hold your breath, where you feel like you can still breathe out of your nose. There's going to be this moment where in tension that we can kind of snap in there, give it a little bit extra. But you were almost like getting ready to hold, hitting the shot, and then the breath would come way late in the swing.
Okay.
Nice. I think that face was just a little bit close. That was a good swing. That was a really good swing. You're right. These irons are not something that's going to get you in crazy amount of trouble. You're managing most of the time when you deliver that thing. If in the last 15, 20 minutes you want to just hit some driver and have a conversation about some of the miss pattern, I think that's a good thing too.
Sure.
Nice. Great one.
Every hand on.
Uh-huh. Great swing. Are you aware of that now that I mentioned it? But
breath?
yeah. It's hard?
Well, I do when I watch like the video. I feel like I breathe heavily. I do, but I never really thought that it would be a hindrance, or I never thought that it would be like a.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to do that experiment, it's pretty obvious too. It's like, hold your breath and then try to jump. It really is like, it feels like the strangest thing ever. So like power lifters, you know, like and weightlifting, training, or running, they really work on that cadence of breath. I think it would help too.
Maybe after you see my driver, I'm just curious about like when I first started, because we obviously had a plan. I kind of got a bit derailed because of my break.
Yeah.
But I guess just kind of what you foresee for the next kind of few lessons, how you think we were kind of tracking versus where we initially started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our target is TrackMan is the middle of this fairway, right? Or kind of imaginary fairway that's out there. It's a good swing. It's a great swing. Club path a little left and exit. A little up at it. Okay. That's kind of typical ball flight.
Yeah, I would say
Height,
so.
trajectory, yeah.
I think it's because I know that the ball is going right, and I'm committed to playing the fade because it's more controllable. I think sometimes when I try to get too particular with it, if I'm trying to aim a bit left and have it fade, sometimes I can almost feel like I'm overdoing it and I actually end up hooking it sometimes.
That's fair.
Or it's like just a straight right shot. It doesn't end up actually fading.
Yeah.
But if I'm starting it right and it goes a little right, or starting it straight and it goes a little right, I think that's usually when I get the most optimal flight.
Yeah.
But potentially if I'm trying to hit a middle of the fairway, the right could be a little tree, so it's not.
Yeah. It's not the worst. You've got a pretty good handle on the pattern, it looks like. It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. Just contact more than anything else. Swing looks good.
Was not the middle.
Yeah, good. So like really nice wide.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm trying to feel is the wide, but sometimes when I do that, I feel like I mess up my time.
I mean more wide out of your stance.
Oh, side out of the
yeah,
stance.
like,
okay.
yeah, exactly.
Distance-wise, you were 115 with your height and 122.
That's pretty good. So this is maybe like a bigger version of what we were seeing out of the irons a little bit too, is the club kind of getting behind you, like club head getting behind you early in the swing. And then because of it, the reroute is, right, blue line is up, purple line is kind of hand path down. So then hand path gets on top. But as you do that, the club head is still really far behind you. So the hands are up nice and high, but then the club is dropping way underneath, almost 8 degrees up at the golf ball. So then you got almost too much to sort of manage there. So once that club head gets behind for you, you don't really rectify it by standing it back up. It just kind of stays behind, and then your hands kind of get pushed up into it. So that's the right miss for you. But that's also a flip if they get stuck there and then you turn them over. So what you want is to just really start to control the club head a bit more in the takeaway, where it doesn't get underneath the line early. So that's like what we're talking about with almost like the thumbs. So in your setup, can you see yourself in that mirror back there? Okay, so when you start your setup at address, you'd want to see a little less of this right shoulder in your way. So when you look back in that mirror, you almost want to see a little bit of that left shoulder. Yeah, just a little, right? Just so the shoulders are kind of pointed in the same direction as where your kind of feet are. And then when you take this away slowly to kind of where I am here, you want to feel like, the thumbs can kind of stay up nice and wide. The club head kind of stays in front of you a bit more. In that video, they got behind, and then as you got back into it, the hands have to kind of push up to bring the club back into the golf ball. You want to feel like you could just let them release from there. So the width of your circle for you is not necessarily this way, where it feels like we're trying to go wider in the circle. The width of your circle is like the integrity of it. So like feeling like it's tracking more on its path with the club head, rather than like feeling like your hands have to swing further around your body. It's more like keep the structure of the club head circle. Yeah.
As far as like backswing, where the backswing should end.
Yeah.
Like, is it?
For you, you do a good job. So I don't think you have to think too much about that, but for you, you don't get too far back in the backswing with your hands. I think they ended a nice position. The club kind of gets to a good spot there. So if the club can come there in a different fashion where it's not so far behind you here, and then kind of stays underneath, it's just your hands are trying to pull the club back up onto the line, but the club is just too far behind you.
Okay.
Yeah, good. That when you're just watching that club head as you go back. It's almost like we need you to just do it a couple times first and then just do what you're doing before, just hit the golf ball kind of full speed. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
So more kind of like
that,
or is that still too far behind me?
No, that's okay. No, so where I'm looking at it is right here, where this club head would get behind you there, and here we want to keep it there. So this is a little bit of like thumb management as well too. So you're allowed to kind of go this way and then keep it out there a little bit better, rather than where you're getting it tucked under and then having to like drive the hands up into the golf ball late.
Okay, so I can still go back to this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Spot. So even if it goes behind me, but I have to. I just can't go like. That.
Right. Yeah, and then as you capture that feeling, you want to imprint that feeling, but do the same things that you're doing previously, which is like, TrackMan is the middle of the fairway. I want to swing aggressively through there, hit your start line, so you're not coaching yourself on too much of the technical.
If I'm like this though, and I'm bringing it down like this versus like that, is this not over the top? Or?
Yeah, so this is, again, I'm just going here in your backswing, that it goes on the way up. We give you room so that when you do this in the downswing and come down, it's not too much. Because you were taking it in, so this is a reaction to that like P2. So when you took it inside and got it stuck in here, you got it in a nice position, but by the time you came down, it was more inside, and then you had to drive your hands up and away. So you kind of rerouted your hands to pull the club into that space, and it got you with like too much attack angle. You know, Rory is like 4 or 5 up at it, and he's kind of the most, and you were up in the 7, 8 kind of category. So it makes it hard to kind of, unless the ball's teed up way off the ground.
So even if my hands are kind of going more outside, my hips can square it up, and then I'll still overall net inside.
That's right. We want, maybe I should have started that way and said, we just want your club head less inside of your hands late in the swing. And they were really inside, the club was really inside, and then as it got into the downswing, it got more inside. So if we have a little less at P2, then when you do the exact same thing you're doing before, we might not fight a block that comes out of that club being stuck in that position, or a hook is a reaction off of that. It's just kind of shrinking sort of your miss pattern a little bit. Right, but same goal here, that we're hitting it right over top of the TrackMan post. Yeah, nice.
And if I'm like this more, I have to almost force myself to clear my hips faster.
That's right, where you're not going to stop to sort of brace for that reroute.
Okay. Well, I hit it better on the face, but.
Yeah, you did. And you created a lot more speed too, which is kind of should be a caveat of that.
Yeah, I felt like I created speed, but I wasn't swinging harder per se.
Yeah, because that is a stop for you. Is okay, the club's behind me. I get to the top, everything's on line. And as I come back in there, you really have to like stop everything and let the club come back up and through.
Yeah.
And we want not an angular release, I pull release into it. I want to feel like it's a lot more linear, that I can just leave that nice and wide into the swing, and I'm not changing the conditions of my hand and head path arrangement as much. Oh, TrackMan said no thanks. Yeah, wow. 108, almost club head speed.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
I'm not getting stuck. I'm still swinging more.
Yeah.
And then it's just going right because of the face, or
Yep.
what is that? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, face is a little open to the path. Swing direction's a little inside still.
Okay. So I still have to just feel like my lower body's
Yeah.
extending a little more.
Yeah, for sure. Right, so early in that swing. So do that again, that little rehearsal that you have there. Yeah, take it back to there. You kind of have these little swings in there. So you want to feel like this is more like this.
Okay.
Early. Less of that,
Yep.
more of that.
Okay.
And then we get that reaction. So what I want you to feel is, I don't want you to hit one like this,
Yep.
but when you take your setup like you're ready to hit a golf ball, probably there. Okay, that when you go back in the backswing, yeah, and if you just sort of trace your path here, we want to be able to stay on top of that brick that's there. So the last one was the most version of you getting to a place where the club head is here,
Yep.
and your hands have to go this way, and it's really hard to do anything except just hit it out to the right. So we want to feel like you get to release this more on top of the plane late here. That would take out some of, like your last one was fast, but not as fast as it could have as the one previous. Your attack angle was up to 8 degrees and your swing direction was 8 from the inside. So the club head was really under late and then had to kind of stop to go up.
Also, too, just based on the swing arc, just because the ball's farther ahead, my club will naturally kind of be up. I don't almost have to
That's right.
force it up.
That's right.
Okay.
So if your sensation is that the club is tracing club head, it's not like I'm extending my arms out that way or throwing it over the top. It's more that the club head just stays on that track a little bit longer into the downswing, right? Yeah, has a bit.
Because I do feel like sometimes I lift up, but I lift up back.
That's right. Be almost at a necessity, right? To make room to kind of give the club space. Because if it's way underneath there, you'd either just hit the
need
ground
more time,
early,
yeah.
or you'd have to get out of its way.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but if I'm more
Yeah,
on top of
that's
that
right.
thing.
That's right.
Okay.
I think you just got a little fast there. But yes, so your attack angle was 2.3 degrees down, and you kind of matched up your numbers a little bit better. I know that was the worst of the bunch, but it's also, you're experimenting with that feel. So with a driver, I would never put anything there that would you'd run into it and break your club. But we want that feedback that there'd be something that I have to kind of stay on top of.
Okay.
Right. Right, so just keep the extension out of that right arm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit of that old one. So swinging a little bit more from underneath, getting a little bit too quick with these.
Too quick with.
Too quick in the backswing, and then changing direction for sure.
Okay, so I almost have to feel like I'm set first, and then I can.
Yeah, go ahead, do that again. Yeah. So feel like it never really gets to this.
Yeah.
Feel like it just stays wide.
Okay.
Right, so feel like you keep the hinge off of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then now as you go through, you can literally just stay behind it and kind of hit up at it. So we keep your head behind the ball. Yeah.
The hinge is kind of what can get me stuck a little.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Oh, okay. I see.
Good. So a little quieter wrists in the takeaway. Yep. Yeah, they're just not as active. Good body turn here. And then up. It's okay. Be there for, yeah, high on the face, so it kind of killed all your spin out of that one. But 4-6 that attack angle came down. Okay, so let's finish with 2 really good drives where you're not thinking too much about this. You're hopefully just imprinting some of it, and you're hitting them right over top of TrackMan. Kind of like how you would imagine you're on the golf course. Try to remove some of that element of like, I'm gonna do this, this, and this in the swing, and replace it with like start line, height, shape. Yeah, get some good speed on it. Six, 8, 5, 5. Just need some spin.
That was just a closed face.
Closed face and high on the face. So with the remove, like see that spin rate's at like 1600?
Yeah.
Playing with small wings wants to dive. We need like 2,500 to 3,000 RPM of spin. It's really coming because you're just catching it a little bit high on the club face.
And my path was left too.
Yeah, and your path was a little bit, right. So I'm gonna just lower the tee a bit. Right off the top of the tee here. That's better. Get that closer. Yeah, so we're in the center then, just a little bit towards the toe. Speeds up, distance is up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 297 is nice. Like very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, attack got up there a little bit, but the tee height's definitely helped you. Okay, quick recap on the wedges. A wider base in your setup, trying to create a little bit more torque force rather than you were using a bit too much of your hands in there. And because of that, kind of getting stuck as you worked underneath it. Your irons and your wedges, the face was probably just more closed than you saw. It was like at address, the club is sitting on the ground. Let's just do this right. At address, the club is closed. It kind of looks square, but it's closed in your hand. So then by the time you release this thing, there was that, or you're having to like hold it off to push it. So like setting up with this thing where it is square first, taking your grip, and then if you have shaft lean, the face looking a little bit to the right. That'll give you the freedom to actually like let it go without fearing that little hook that was in there. And then as we got to driver, just so that you can really understand this, is when you took it away and the club head got underneath you, by the time you got to the top of the backswing and then in transition, the club head gets further behind, your swing direction's inside. And then as you got to the ball, you'd have to like stop and lift this thing. So you'd hit those pushes that were acceptable, but occasionally from that arrangement, it would really flip over and you hit a quick hook. So what you want to feel like is it stays on its circle a lot longer in the swing, and then you're going to use that rotation to get the elevation rather than the hands climbing up into the golf ball.
Okay.
Fair?
Yeah.
Swinging good though, looks really good. A little bit of breath work too might help, but I think that's okay. I think you can work on that too.
Yeah. I guess, how do you think we're trending? I guess
we're good. Obviously, we had a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
The next time we get together, I'd love to spend some time on the grass, on some short game stuff, just to sort of like really see how you're interacting with the turf.
Yeah.
I knew we were coming off of a bit of a hiatus, so it's nice to just spend time in here with technology, but this isn't all of it.
Yeah.
We got to see how you're dealing with it when it's like on the grass and on the turf, and maybe that's our next session, is just playing around a little bit more with that, some uneven lies, some poor lies, some interaction around the short game area. I think that's like, we can't omit that. If you're looking at scoring better, you gotta look at the short game.
Yeah, I think I also need some putting help too. I
Fantastic.
trouble with like even just reading the greens.
Okay, so why don't we do that on the next one, is we'll specifically focus on 2 green reading methods that I'll help you understand, tour read or aim point. That'll just give you some clarity as to how to read greens. We'll evolve that into just what your stroke looks like. We'll kind of go do a full putting synopsis. And then we'll back it out to kind of around the greens and see if we can feed that in. If we can get you to be really great in that area, all this other stuff, a driver isn't gonna change your game necessarily. Like great driving of the golf ball is gonna be helpful, but scoring the best is all, we'll call it inside 60 yards. And especially as we get onto the surface. So yeah, let's do that on the next one.
Yeah, because I mean, as soon as I realized, you know, my swing doesn't have to be necessarily perfect, but
Right.
like a bad putt can
Yeah.
is the same stroke as like.
That's it. Yeah.
So it's like
when I did that ball fitting down at Manchester Lane, they get you to hit 12 shots, and they start you with 40 to 50 yard wedge shots. Then you hit a full pitching wedge. Then you hit a 7-iron, and by then they've pretty much decided what ball is correct for you for scoring.
yeah.
The driver, because they're so dialable and optimal, and you can change the face and shaft really easy, we don't ever really choose a golf ball or choose our skill based on like the driver window.
Yep.
It's all like how good you are around the greens. And that's probably really true when you think about the majority of your shots.
Yep.
Out of the 65 to 85 shots that you're going to hit in a round of golf,
Yeah.
they're all, most of them, in like that 60, like call it inside 100 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's our next one.
All right. Sounds
Okay,
good.
you're welcome.
So that will wrap up the weekly lesson. Hopefully you learned something from it. I know I do when I rewatch it and I start to edit the clips again. There's just so much information packed in that I'm able to digest it a second time by rewatching it. And so this is kind of just a useful library for me to refer back to. So hopefully you guys feel the same way. But anyways, just want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button, subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.